It was a quiet Sunday morning in early November when my life began its most unexpected transformation. The sun rose over Maplewood, Illinois, casting soft amber light across my front porch. I brushed my fingertips across the chipped wooden railing, savoring the comforting hum of suburban warmth. I drilled sips of steaming coffee into my bones. I thought it would be just another lazy weekend, until the sound of tires crunching over the gravel driveway made me look up. My sister, Lauren, pulled into place behind her familiar red sedan. Her face was tired, as if she'd carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. After 2 years, grief still drew harsh lines under her eyes. But it was her son, Jacob, who jolted me. Jacob had always been the embodiment of childhood joy, energetic, curious, full of ideas that flooded like summer rain. Today, though, his shoulders were stooped, his energy subdued. He clutched a folded sheet of paper in his small hand. I stood and set my coffee mug down, an instinctive smile forming. "Hey kiddo," I said, walking toward him. "Morning." He barely looked up. His green-blue eyes, the same shade as Lauren's, held a quiet seriousness I rarely saw on him. I motioned at the paper. "What's that you've got there?" He dropped it into my hand, unfolding it carefully. It was a drawing, rendered in thick, confident strokes typical of someone his age. At the top he'd written, "Family," in uneven letters. Under it, 3 stick figures hand in hand. A woman in a skirt, a young boy, and a man. I recognized the figures of my sister and nephew instantly. But the man, it was me. A breath caught in my throat. I looked up at Jacob, who bit his lip and met my gaze uneasily. "Uncle Ryan," he said, his voice a soft whisper. "Can I ask you something? Kinda big?" At that moment everything felt heavy. The porch railing felt slippery in my hands. The air tasted thick. I lowered myself so I was level with him. "Of course, buddy. You can always ask me anything." Lauren stepped forward, brushing her shoulder against mine. She offered me a strained but hopeful smile. They were both waiting for me to say something profound. But all I could do was swallow and ask one word. "Okay." Jacob inhaled, raising the paper so I could see it again. "I want you to be my dad." Silence crashed into us. I don't recall my heart pounding. It felt like it stopped altogether. 2 years ago, Jacob's father, Mark, died in a car accident. Instant. Final. We had weathered a storm of grief, but Jacob never quite recovered. He woke up most mornings with that fragile uncertainty of a child missing his anchor. Lauren and I had done everything we could to fill in the gaps. Ice cream nights, camping trips, movie marathons, weekend sleepovers at my place. We thought we were coping. We thought things were fine. But this was new. Lauren touched Jacob's shoulder and nodded. "He's thought about it, Ryan," she said. "He really wants this." The door of possibility swung open. I didn't know if I should step through. We moved inside. Lauren settled on the couch. I pulled Jacob down beside her. I gathered my courage. "Tell me why." "It's like," he whispered, voice trembling. "You're always there. You help me with homework. You take me to soccer practice. I just feel safe. And I want someone who's always with me. Not just Uncle Ryan, but Dad." My throat felt tight. I swallowed. I could feel tears prickling behind my eyes. Tears for Mark. Tears for Jacob. Tears for Lauren. Tears for what could be, what should be. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Jacob's words. I thought about my own life. I was 35, single, with a steady but unremarkable job as a graphic designer. I enjoyed weekend fishing trips, barbecues with friends, book clubs. My own world had always been simple. I'd never considered having a family. If you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have said I was content. But now, the idea of not being there, of closing that door, felt unbearable. Tomorrow, I told myself. I'll think about it more tomorrow. Over the next several days, things shifted between us. We kept having conversations. Not formal ones, but moments that carried weight. The afternoon we built a model rocket in the backyard and watched tears of delight spring in Jacob's eyes. The evening we sprawled across the floor with textbooks as he struggled over fractions, then suddenly solved one and punched the air. Lauren sat across the room, half watching with a quiet hope brimming in her expression. My own heart kept tightening. I felt protective, proud, and something I hadn't realized before. I was already beginning to care as a father might. But the practical side of me kicked in. Was I ready for this? Could I handle the legal, emotional complications? I'd need to talk to Lauren. What about Lauren? She worked 2 jobs. Could we share responsibilities? Could we navigate grief together in a new dynamic? One evening, Lauren came home and dropped her bag with a sigh. She looked at me across the dining table. "So," she said quietly, "tonight I asked Jacob again. Are you sure?" He put his head down and said, He paused, waited. He said he was sure. Those words laid a foundation beneath us, fragile but real. I reached across the table and took her hand. I squeezed it. "I want to do it," I said, voice firm. Relief broke across her face, then tears. She rested her head on my shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "We did our research. We talked to family. We talked to lawyers. We researched guardianship and adoption." Lauren and I realized something. Our goal wasn't to erase Mark's memory. It would never be replaced. We didn't want Jacob to call me fake dad. We just wanted to offer him permanent love and stability. To let him grow up with someone who would always be there. Weekdays, weekends, birthdays, graduations. So we began the process. In the meantime, our routine adjusted naturally. Weekday mornings I drove Jacob to school. We talked about his dreams, of flying jets, of becoming a zoologist. Wednesday evenings were dad night. We shot hoops in the yard. We experimented with recipes. Homemade pizza, tacos, brownies. When he hit a bestseller on his soccer coach's age group, I was there applauding, hooting, beaming so hard I swear my cheeks hurt. Lauren found comfort too. She no longer felt she had to bear everything alone. On weekends we would take days off together. Biking, hiking, library visits. The strain of single parenthood lifted. A new kind of family rhythm began to form. There were hard days. Late-night tears when Jacob squashed his sandwich out of frustration. Moments of guilt when Lauren wondered if she'd done enough. Times I wondered if I was enough. Talk. We fought. We cried. And then we talked some more. Eventually the pain receded into textured shades of healing. School board meetings, financial reviews, court appointments. Each was a step forward. The day we finally walked into the courthouse, suit and tie solemn, Jacob clutching a rose for me, it felt surreal. The oar of the guard quietly announced our names. I held his hand as we answered the judge's questions. Did we intend to care for him? Would we provide for his education, health, well-being? We answered yes, yes, yes. When she stamped the final decree granting me legal guardianship and adoptive rights, the lump in my throat became a swell of emotion. Jacob looked at me with wide eyes. I pulled him close. "I am your dad," I whispered. He nodded, tears dripping down his cheeks, and said, "I know."